Hello, and welcome to the On the Couch podcast, the podcast that gives you the view from the therapist chair. I'm your host, John Dennis, a licensed professional counselor. You're listening to OTC Episode 8, a bonus episode with Rachel Norman of the Better app. That's right, we got a bonus episode. So I'm thrilled to be talking to you guys today and sharing a conversation with Rachel Norman, who is the co-founder of an app called Better. And their mission is to make healthcare simple and to help people pay off medical debt. You know, especially as we're, in the midst of, Hanukkah and Christmas and the end of the calendar year, and a lot of people's deductibles are getting set to reset in the new year and things like that. The topic of medical debt is such a huge thing. They actually estimate that about $1 trillion a year gets spent in healthcare administration, and that 1 in 5 Americans are struggling with some type of medical debt, whether that's out of network, whether that's from an accident or a procedure that they needed to have done. And they actually estimate that about 62% of personal bankruptcies come from medical debts. So I feel like this topic is so relevant to so many people. I think, all of us have had to have some type of, doctor's appointment, medical procedure, something. And if we haven't struggled with battling either our insurance company or an out-of-network procedure, we know somebody that has. So definitely this interview and learning more about this app could benefit somebody that you know. And some of you may be asking yourselves, I thought this was a mental health podcast. What does medical debt have to do with mental health? And one, to start, the Better app can help with a number of different services, whether that's therapy, medical debts, a lot of different things. They're able to help you get reimbursed for your out-of-network services. And part of what this has to do with mental health is there's so many times as a therapist where, one of the number one questions people ask is, are you in network? Are you covered by the insurance that I have? And people often have to either go elsewhere or pay out of pocket when that's a real struggle for them, and they end up having to make a decision about a particular counselor or a particular service based on whether they're in network or not, or whether they're able to pay it or not. And Better can help alleviate a lot of that stress and really open up options for people. And the other is, especially as a Gottman couples counselor, sex and money are probably the two biggest issues in addition to kids that couples struggle with. And so that's the medical debt that comes in between people, or hits people sideways as they're trucking along through life, is a big stressor, and that really weighs on our relationships and on our mental health, whether that's anxiety or depression or what have you. So that's a large part of why I really wanted to sit down and talk with Rachel. So Rachel Norman is the founder and CEO of Better, an app that makes it simple for patients to get paid back by their health insurance when they visit a cash pay private practice. She studied biochemistry and biophysics at Stanford University. At Better, she has combined her health background and tech experience to tackle hard problems in healthcare. Rachel is an expert on health insurance, medical billing, and coding, and you can learn more about the app and about Rachel at getbetter.co. So, Rachel, hello, and just thank you so much for being able to carve out some time to be with us and share a little bit about Better and what it is you guys do. So thanks.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
So to start, what is your background? How did you get into this? What is it? Yeah.
Yeah. So how I got into this was really my own personal need. I've worked in tech since I graduated Stanford, and I have always had great insurance plans. I've had PPO policies where I could go outside of the network, and I had very little success in actually getting my money back from my insurance company because I would be, busy enough with work where I couldn't leave my desk for a few hours to call my insurance and ask them why they weren't receiving faxes or why I was never getting checks. And looking for a company that could help me, make sure that I got my money back reliably from my insurance company. And I realized that there wasn't really anything out there. There were patient advocates that focused on really, really large bills, but wouldn't deal with the smaller stuff. And so because of that, I decided that this needed to exist. And if I was having this problem, I was certain a lot of other people were as well. So I founded the company and got started getting people money back from their insurance.
Awesome. And yeah, I know just on my own personal experience, I've dealt with that as well. And I know with, especially with like identity theft, separate topic, obviously, but they say a lot of times that it's almost like your new hobby is like fighting that. And so I imagine the same kind of thing with trying to get reimbursed and trying to navigate, the inner workings of these insurance companies. Is that safe to say?
It's definitely a very difficult process. And we have people who come to us, saying, I'm so glad I found you. I have mailed this claim 13 times. They still don't have it in their system. Please take over from here and figure out how they can actually get my claim and process it. And it's a very challenging thing to do. We have the opinion that software can really, really make a difference in helping people through this process, making sure that what data is being sent to insurance companies is complete and accurate and the codes are valid so that the insurance companies are getting good data they can work with. And that, the errors that come up in their systems where they lose a claim or they delete a claim or they wrongly deny a claim, that we're able to catch those errors and resolve them so people are getting all of the money that they're owed and have an easy way to track each claim and whether or not it's been reimbursed. And
yeah, just to reiterate from your bio, you're Stanford educated. It's not like, so that idea of for you to be struggling with it for, a lot of people that are, they're very intelligent, very, very knowledgeable, and it's still something that's just so overwhelming.
Yeah. And one of the reasons it is so overwhelming is it takes so much specific knowledge to be able to resolve an issue. And the health insurance company really isn't there to support their members in understanding what's going wrong. So when there is a coding error or missing information from the provider, or they're, reimbursing a very low amount because the allowed amount is low, we find that when people come to us and they have a claim that's having a problem, what the insurance company has explained to them isn't really what the problem is. And it takes so much experience and specific knowledge to be able to know what's really going on. And, we've talked to people that have, chronic conditions where they've taken classes on medical billing and coding just to be able to get their claims through. And that's, something that, your average person doesn't have the time to do, especially if they're sick.
Sure. Yeah. And oh man, that really pisses me off because it's, I can't even imagine just the heartbreaking stories you guys have come across, but it made me think of, so just a little bit of my world. We have a 6-year-old. So we were watching The Incredibles the other day. And there's a scene in The Incredibles where the main character, Mr. Incredible, his boss, he's working at InsuraCare, and the boss is like, basically yelling about how is it everybody knows the inner workings of our company? They're not supposed to be able to do that, and almost that idea of, they build these things so that it's such a tangled web, it's so confusing. And you're, if you're dealing with, cancer or depression or, whatever the condition might be, you're not equipped to deal with that and fight this billing battle.
And for so many people who are in those situations where they're dealing with cancer or diabetes or something where there are a lot of claims that need to be processed and there are a lot of problems that come up all the time, they describe it as, one more full-time job that they have. And that's really what we're here to solve for people and help healthcare providers as well, right? There are very few companies or people that are sort of experts in this space that are willing to share their knowledge on billing and coding and how codes are changing over time and insurance companies and different policies process claims. And that's something where we want to share our expertise in the hopes that it'll help healthcare providers have an easier time creating super bills and keeping up with the changes that matter to them. And, also for patients, demystify what's going on and help them understand how their policy actually works. There's so many people that come to us that have, way above average deductibles, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 for network care. And they had no idea until they started using our product that their deductible was so high or what a deductible even was.
Okay. And so, what is better?
Yes. So we are the simplest way for an individual to get money back from their health insurance for out-of-network claims. So any claim that hasn't been sent to the insurance company by the healthcare provider or by the hospital, you can just simply take a photo of the super bill or forward it to us via email if you're getting emails from an EHR. And we will review that claim for completeness and accuracy. Sorry
to interrupt really quick. So EHR, electronic health records?
Yes. So the practice management system that your healthcare provider will use to keep track of appointments, do scheduling, create bills, all of that. A lot of times it sends out a statement via email that you can forward to us. And then we check that over. If anything's missing, we go back to the healthcare provider so the patient isn't constantly stuck in the middle doing all of that administrative work. And then we send the claim on to the insurance company and we track it as it goes through their systems and make sure that it is processed correctly. And then we help the people using our service to understand their benefits and answer any questions they have about, their policy or how insurance works in general.
I did want to check in. I think I had heard or read, I forget if it was the Practice of Therapy with Gordon Brewer, the average user typically gets back, somewhere in the neighborhood of like $1,200, something like that a year. Is that accurate or?
That remains accurate. That's still what we're seeing. And I think, when we're talking about what the average user gets back, it's very important to understand, right? A lot of our users will have, say Kaiser or another type of HMO policy or an EPO policy that has out-of-network benefits only in the case of an emergency. So non-emergency care, like seeing a therapist or seeing a chiropractor, those claims are going to be denied by the plan unless there's, a pre-authorization to go outside of the network in place, often called single case agreement or a gap request. So we process claims like that all of the time. And, just because sometimes there's something we don't know about the policy or its limitations, maybe there isn't a therapist within 50 miles, for example, and the claim does get reimbursed. So we send everything to insurance, and yet we're still seeing that average of $1,200 hold true. So that means, people that have a PPO policy or POS where they do have those out-of-network benefits, we're very successful at, getting them reimbursed and making sure that it's every single claim, right? Because there's this huge problem. You send things off to your insurance company, but it's very difficult to track. Did I get a check for every single claim that I processed or that I sent in? We often have users where, that will audit the last year before they found us, and we'll find that there are thousands and thousands of dollars that were left on the table just because not every claim processed, but they thought they'd gotten all of their money back. So it can be, very difficult to track every single claim. And there's often stuff that just gets, lost in the shuffle somewhere. And we're able to make sure that all of that money does get to the person successfully.
Okay. Man, so many times throughout my life, I wish I had known better existed and had that handy. Gosh. For those of you listening, yeah, I mean, I've downloaded the app. It's super simple to set up. Takes literally maybe like 2 minutes. And then, like you said, yeah, just snapping a photo and uploading it. And, as they say, Bob's your uncle. So what are the numbers that you're seeing in today's world, medical debt, averages, that kind of stuff? What are you seeing?
Medical debt is a huge issue that is growing, right? We're seeing this trend where insurance premiums are going up, deductibles are going up, more and more of the costs of healthcare are getting pushed onto the consumer. People end up in situations where they're in an emergency room and the hospital's in the network, but not a single doctor in that emergency room participates in any of those networks. And so they get all of these
That's just insane.
Yeah, that they didn't expect. And, with that, 1 in 4 households in the U.S. has unpaid medical bills. It's the number one thing that, hurts people's credit is unpaid medical bills. It's a major contributor even to homelessness. There's been, studies with very small sample sizes looking at how people ended up without housing. And, it's very commonly because they had medical bills that they were not able to pay and things spiraled from there. So that's something that, no one business or no one person is going to be able to solve entirely. But we decided to dedicate all of our initial revenue from processing out-of-network claims towards forgiving medical debt. So far, we've forgiven a little over $7 million in medical debt.
Wow.
And we're going to keep going until we've forgiven $16 million across the United States.
Okay. I think if I remember correctly, it was sort of the challenge, the gauntlet being thrown down to outgive John Oliver from last week tonight, excuse me.
Exactly. So he did the largest TV giveaway in history, forgiving $15 million of medical debt. So we're going to do him one better and go to $16 million.
Nice, man. So $7 million, that's just amazing. That's got to be so life-changing for so many people that you've helped. I can't even imagine, just the sense of relief, that weight being lifted off of them. Gosh. So you cross the finish line, you outgive John Oliver. How are you guys going to do it? I mean, they're going to be like, confetti raining from the sky? Is it like the gigantic red button like he had on the stage? Like, what are you guys cooking up?
Well, that is going to be a surprise.
Okay.
We'll see where we are when we come to the finish line.
Okay. Man, yeah, that'll be amazing to see. That's so cool. So far, what are some of the positive impacts you've seen come out of it?
So I think the thing that motivates our team, right? We all have very hard jobs, and everyone on our team works incredibly hard. There's a lot of work to be done here as we grow, and I think the thing that keeps all of us, motivated every day are the individual stories that we hear from our users. And for many people, they're writing in and saying, how far back can I go with my bills? I've been too depressed to get out of bed, and I've never been able to deal with this, or I can't get any money back from my insurance, but I have to get reimbursed, or I'm not going to be able to continue this care that I really need. There are no doctors in the network that I feel can treat me, or I'm not able to get off the waiting list. I'm not able to find one. People writing in, single parents who have, children that are struggling with mental health issues or chronic illnesses. And, I think it's that, right? We've really built this very, very simple product. You never have to talk to us. It's really easy to use, but people write in and tell us all about, their car accident, their diabetes, all of these things that they're struggling with, hoping that we're able to help as much as possible. And I think, that's the thing we're seeing, is that we're able to make an impact that's really meaningful in individual people's lives. And that's what's so motivating to solve this problem and work as hard as we do.
You're listening to OTC Episode 8 with Rachel Norman of Better. We're going to pause for a quick word from our sponsor.
Life is hard, but Parenting and Family Solutions is here to help. Our board-certified counselors are easy to talk to and offer a safe, encouraging environment to help you with your unique needs. We specialize in helping clients of all ages deal with depression, anxiety, marriage issues, screen addiction, and ADHD, just to name a few. We now have daytime and evening appointments available in Harrisburg and Lancaster and accept most major insurance plans. Visit our website to learn more at www.parentfamilysolutions.com or give us a call at 717-602-5560. Let us help you build a stronger family and a healthier you.
So I didn't prep you with this one, but are you at liberty to share, what is the craziest code claim you've seen? I know with the ICD codes, I think there's one for struck by a duck is one of the medical claims. I don't know if does that ring any bells?
Yeah, there are some. We've looked at for Thanksgiving. There are a whole bunch of codes related to injuries with live turkeys. So there's a broad spread of codes, and they're very, very specific, and they're getting more specific every year. We're sort of seeing this exponential growth right now. One of the major complaints is that there aren't codes for drone injuries. So we expect that those will be added shortly, since that's a growing problem. I think, for us and what we deal with, it's more what are the most common issues, right? And, we'll see things like, I believe it's Z63. We'll see very non-specific codes. So, Z63 is, other problems related to primary support group.
It's a very watered down.
Yeah. And so, that's something that's difficult, right? Where the patient who's sending in the claim, they have this piece of paper. They believe that it's got everything that their insurance company needs. And in some cases, the claims are approved, but most policies don't consider those to be a medical diagnosis, and then the claim is denied. And there's can be a lot of confusion about why that is. So I think those are the most challenging things for us is when we have to relay, sort of disappointing news that, a claim is denied because you don't have a medical diagnosis, or you're not going to get reimbursed for a really long time because you have a $10,000 deductible. And the only thing to be done about that is to, change your policy. Those are the things that I think are the most challenging for us.
And as a therapist on my end, a lot of times, I get frustrated with the coding system because, the Z codes, you can't use those as a primary diagnostic code typically and get reimbursed for that. And a lot of the Z codes, to me, are, the things most people would come in for, like, bereavement or couples counseling, like an issue with your spouse or partner, or an issue with your child, or things like that. And a lot of times, they don't recognize them.
And that's not 100% rule. We do sometimes see them accepted. It's just rare. And so, that I think it's all about expectation setting and helping people to understand how this works. And so if that's the only code that can be applied, letting them know that a lot of policies don't recognize it as a medical diagnosis, so that they're not shocked when, claims are having issues. And, there has to be that lineup between the diagnosis code and the procedure code. And that can cause problems all over the place. You see this a lot with thyroid tests, right? You go in for a general checkup, a test is ordered, but there's no extra code to explain the symptoms being presented that warrant the test. And then the test is denied. We see things like that where there's a mismatch. And it's all about making sure, right, that if there is a reason for the care to be provided, that it's accurately represented in those diagnosis codes.
Okay. And that's shocking also, because again, as a therapist, I'm almost always recommending a thyroid test because of just the impact of, your thyroid on mental health. So, okay.
Yeah, that's very common. It has to have that reason associated with it. And there's many, many reasons, right, to get a thyroid test that are recognized. It's an incredibly long list. But if none of those are present, then it's another loop through with the physician that ordered the test. Is there a reason this is ordered that can be put into a code?
And what's something you wish everybody knew? All patients, if they, prior to getting to better, what's something you wish that they knew?
I think it really is the basics of how insurance works. And I think there's two, concepts that are most important, right? So that people aren't surprised or aren't put in a financially unsustainable situation. And thing one, right, is that deductible that keeps coming up. It's very important to know what your deductible is and know that most plans have, a separate deductible, one for in-network care, one for out-of-network care. Sometimes they're combined, but they're usually separate. And the second thing is when you go outside of the network, a lot of times the way plans explain how you'll be reimbursed is that they're going to reimburse 50 or 60 or 70% of the amount that you pay. What they're actually going to reimburse is the amount that they allow for the procedure being done. And nothing to do with what you pay. It has to do with how your plan values the care. If your plan is through a major employer that is negotiated really well on your behalf, a lot of times those amounts are very, very high. They can be higher than what you're paying. You're going to get, great reimbursement. But if you're on a plan that you bought through the exchange or a small business plan, those amounts are going to be much, much lower. We see huge variance for every procedure out there. And, people don't realize that is part of the equation and how insurance companies calculate reimbursement. And it's such an important piece of the puzzle to understand where the numbers are coming from when you finally do get a check back from your insurance plan.
Thank you so much for driving that home, just of knowing the deductible and in network versus out of network. So often we find that to be true, that people have no idea. They just don't know, or they think they know, or kind of like you said, they've been told one thing, but that's not actually the case. Specific to mental health, we see it all the time where, they have this insurance provider, but the mental health benefits are covered by a completely other company. It can be extremely confusing for people.
Yes, that is very, very common. And so making sure that the claims get to the right place can be, a challenge. And a lot of times, the insurance company will give you misinformation because in-network claims go to one company and out-of-network claims go to another. And it can be really, really difficult to navigate, especially when there are, other companies in the mix.
I sort of think of like if you have like double coverage or something like that, where like the insurance companies are like fighting over, no, it's not ours. It's almost like hot potato.
Yes. So that is a problem too. It's called coordination of benefits. And so a lot of times, right, that is claims will process. And then all of a sudden the insurance company will be like, wait a minute, we need you to confirm to us whether or not you have another insurance plan. Often when people do not, and it can, halt all claims processing until they get the answer on that.
Yeah, and I've run into that personally. Unfortunately, of not even lapses in coverage, but just like miscommunications between the companies. All sorts of different things. I'm sure you hear all kinds of horror stories.
Well, and those are things that we take care of, right? So when it is necessary for the member to confirm that they don't have other insurance and claims are stuck, we let them know that and make it super simple for them to confirm that. And then we do handle filing if people have multiple insurance plans. So we'll take the claim all the way through the life cycle, not just with the primary insurance, but with the secondary and the tertiary of that. And that's very common, right, for people who have Medicare. They'll have supplemental policy with out-of-network benefits, but that supplemental policy will require the claim response from Medicare, even if it's a denial, and getting something all the way through that process can be a lot of work. So those are all things that we just take care of for the people that use Better, so that they're not in the middle of that, trying to struggle with, the second and third parts of the process.
How can people access Better? I mean, we said it's an app. What did they look up? What's the web address? How did people find you?
Yeah, so we're at getbetter.co. We do not have the .com yet.
It's very important. CO, not COM.
Yeah. So getbetter.co, and then you can either download our iOS app or you can sign up online on your computer. It'll work on your Android phone. And like you said, it only takes a couple of minutes. You answer 4 questions and give us a photo of your insurance card, and then you're ready to file claims for yourself. You're able to file claims for your entire family or anyone it is that you care for. So if you're the caretaker or elderly in-laws, you're able to put their claims through this as well. We designed it so you can support your entire family, and you'll be releasing an Android app early in next year, so early in 2019, and we're very excited about that. It's almost complete.
Nice. Okay, so you kind of beat me to the punch of, are there certain projects you guys are rolling out or working on, or goals aside from the closing the gap on the 16 million? Do you have a projected date for that to roll out, or no, we don't want to commit to?
Yeah, so that's something that we'll be, I think, moving through very quickly in the new year. We've been processing an awful lot of claims, so Most of the money's there. We've just got to do the work to write the blog posts and let everyone know that we've gone through more states and forgiven more debt. And then other things, that we have in the works is we're just constantly working to grow and improve, the quality of our service and help people have more and more insights on their claims processing, their insurance policy, and all of the things they want to know as their claim is going through the process with their insurance company. And so constantly adding features and improving our products is a huge focus of ours.
Like we've been saying, it's just so crucial for so many people. Financial Peace University and Dave Ramsey is something I talk about a lot, and I've been a part of those financial classes and groups where people they've literally attempted or thought about suicide because of the insurmountable debt and not knowing where to go and what to do about it. So thank you so much for, having a heart and a passion for this and making it happen.
Thank you. No, I mean, just to add one more, one of the things we blogged about is a young man who died because he was, I think it was $50 short on his GoFundMe campaign to purchase insulin for the month.
You gotta be kidding me.
No, it's
that's just heartbreaking.
I'll have SJ send that blog over. We were the ones who did the original reporting in that particular case, but it's heartbreaking what's happening in this country right now. And people write to us all the time, and we don't negotiate hospital bills because that's not a software solvable problem. It has to be a system overhaul solution. People who they had no choice but to go to the ER, and there's all of the upcoding that happens, and the level charge is too high, and I can look at the bill and I can see all of this, and they're just like they just can't believe how they could possibly be charged so much for so little. But yet it's their child, maybe they had a concussion, maybe they had a broken arm. They had to be sure. They couldn't, not take care of their child. And yet the amount that we charge people is unbelievable. And when we have people dying because they're $50 short, it's unconscionable. So it's something that, for the lifetime of Better, even once we're past this $16 million campaign, is core to the values of our company, that however we can, we continue to help people in these situations where, no app or one person is going to be able to, resolve the systemic issue, but we can make a small difference for a small number of people.
Thank you for, the work that you've done up to this point and the work that you're going to do. Like I had said, I'm very excited to keep tabs on this and hopefully have you back on when you're celebrating. And again, just thank you for being able to share a little bit of your time and what you guys are doing.
Always happy to. Thank you so much.
So again, just a huge thank you to Rachel Norman for being able to come on the show and educate people about this app and the service that they provide. And like I had said at the beginning, I just encourage you to go to their website and check them out. It's super easy to download. It takes next to no time. It's free. And just the idea of the headache that they are able to take off of your plate is, I can't even really put it into words, or quantify what that means. So many people are just beaten down by their medical debts, their student loan debts, their, all these different things. And a lot of times we just try to bury our head in the sand, or we lose hope and we give up. And we don't have to do that. Better is here to help us with that. So as always, I will make sure to pack the show notes with any links and resources to check out from this interview. And I hope you guys have enjoyed what you heard. So that's going to wrap up 2018. We're going to take a short break during the holiday season, and we will be back in January. Next episode is going to be a conversation with Jennifer Seletsky Davidson of the Amazing Kids Club. She works for True North Wellness Services and provides services to kids with autism. If you have a question you'd like answered on air, you can call 717-897-0577 or email us at info@parentfamilysolutions.com and put podcast question in the subject line. So remember to keep calm and carry on. Have a good night. If you liked what you've heard on the podcast, please be sure to subscribe and review wherever you're catching this podcast at. You can check out any links and resources on our detailed show notes or other episodes that have been archived at www.parentfamilysolutions.com/podcast. If you want to catch up on what Parenting and Family Solutions is doing, be sure to follow us on any of your favorite social media apps. This is your host, John Dennis, saying good night. The author and host of this podcast is not engaged in a therapeutic relationship with the listener and cannot give counseling advice without a confidential appointment. Listeners should be sure to consult with a licensed therapist in their area or seek emergency medical attention if they are experiencing psychological difficulty. A special thanks to the Topsy Turvies for the show theme song. Their song, Like a Living Dead, can be found at topsyturvies.bandcamp.com. The bump interview track was the song 1973 by Bruno E. The author and host of this podcast is John Dennis. Special thanks to producer and editor Trevor Groff.